Hey Insiders, David from Sunday Sounds here, and we are live from Los Angeles, California with Colin Dennard from Mosaic MSC, and I'm super excited about this live event. Colin's going to be sharing some of his approach to how he designs keys presets in Omnisphere and Mainstage. We're going to get some of a behind-the-scenes look at his process, and we're going to have a chance for folks to do question and answer. And so, Colin, thank you for being here. I'm super excited.
Thank you for being here. This guy flew all the way across the country from Iowa.
From Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa.
Bro.
It's my first time in LA. It's been pretty sweet.
Well, welcome.
Thank you, man.
To our traffic-filled sunny city.
Traffic has been nuts.
Yeah, no, it's insane, especially in this area.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So yeah, we just did Mosaic MSC just did the Outcry tour. And we were playing with Bethel music, elevation worship, and vertical worship.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was a 15 show tour.
Okay.
And bro, every night it was just insane. Like, especially learning from musicians that are older and more experienced than we are. Like, they just had so much wisdom and so many just crazy ideas. Especially when it comes to keys. Like I was telling some of my crew and telling David as well. Like. After I saw like their keys run down, I was like, okay, I got to go home and change my entire Mainstage template. And I, like, as David knows, my Mainstage template is already not very good. Well, it does a job, but it's just not pretty, as Sunday Keys is. Sunday Keys is beautiful, and this nano control skin makes it even more beautiful.
Yeah, that's awesome. One thing I wanted to ask you about, this is just a question of my own, is I think a lot of the Mosaic stuff, when I first started to listen to your guys' music, one thing that really stood out to me was sort of the production had a certain vibe. Mm-hmm. And it sort of resonated with a lot of this like synthwave and 80s stuff that I've heard coming from a lot of West Coast bands.
Yeah.
So what was it, what inspired that? Was it just here in LA? Was it just part of the scene that was already going on and you guys kind of latched onto that? Or were there specific bands? Was it a conscious decision? Like how has that kind of come about? You guys finding such a unique sound?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we were necessarily being like, okay, we're going to make synth pop music. It wasn't necessarily like, we're going to make this. It was more so like, this is music that we all like and that us as musicians had such chemistry within that genre.
Yeah.
That
totally.
It was just kind of like, it was just naturally like, okay, if we're going to make worship music, this is probably what it's going to sound like.
Right.
So I know when I first stepped into Mosaic, I think it was 4.5 years ago, I walked in. I had no idea about the church or anything.
Okay.
I had just moved to LA. I was like, I don't know anyone. I walked in and they started playing this song called More Than Everything, and it had this like, the song starts and it has huge drums and this like big synth lead, and I was like, wow, this is something different I had not experienced before.
Okay.
This was even like, they were not even called MSC. They had not released anything.
Okay.
It was just like this, okay, we're a church and we're just gonna make music.
Yeah.
So then, when I got involved, it was like we just got to take that sound and just develop it even further. With Glory and Wonder, with our Unknown EP, and now with our third album that we're working on.
Yeah.
So it's just like, synth pop is a lot of the music that we like to listen to. Right. So it's just like, why would you not want to make the music that you like to listen to?
Yeah. So when it came time to like sort of take that concept and actually apply it, I know you guys worked with a couple different producers on some of the records. Was that how important was finding the right producers to you guys really honing in on that sound? When it came to time you did a lot of the pre-production on the keys parts.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you took a lot to the table.
Yeah.
And then how did that relationship work out once you started to bring it all together at the end? When you're actually tracking the final parts.
Yeah, I think it was like, with picking a producer, it was important that we found someone that we knew could take our sound and make it to the next level, but also make our sound like more approachable. Because I think when you're writing, especially worship music like this, you want to make sure that it still has that worshipful heart at the center of it. You don't want anything that's going to be like necessarily distracting. Oh, because we want this crazy like synth soul or whatever. You still want it to be like reflecting in a worshipful moment. So it was finding somebody that understood that vision.
Did arrangements change a lot from like the initial pre-production concept to like what would be like sort of the worship version that you ended up at?
Absolutely, yeah. And even I would say even now, like some of the arrangements as we play them live in like different worship scenarios, we'll even tweak things just to have the song like fit the moment and not have it be like the record every time.
Okay.
So yeah, we try to keep it fresh in terms of like how we arrange our songs. Like for instance, on the Outcry tour, we closed with the song Tremble, but at the end of it, when you think the song is finished, we go straight into the bridge of the song Glory and Wonder.
Oh, okay.
And we did that for about half the tour. So it's just like, just creating moments like that.
That's awesome.
Are fresh and exciting. So
yeah, that's cool. So you've worked on a couple albums now, and what are, as you were like, let's talk about pads. We talk about pads. Everybody loves pads.
I love pads.
So when I said this like West Coast sort of vibe to a lot of the synth sounds, one of the specifically the pads have this like really unique character and texture that's something that really caught my ear right away when I first heard you guys' music. And there's several things that I feel like you sort of approach differently than other folks. Like it's not just all shimmer. So what are a couple things that you, when you're like, I'm going to build a sound to fit that sort of pad space, what are a couple techniques that you really have found would help people watching the stream sort of get that sort of West Coast sort of Mosaic MSC sound?
Yeah, well, one big thing, and I think especially if you listen to like the multi-tracks of Tremble that you'll kind of dissect, we don't use a lot of kind of static one-dimensional tones. We use a lot of like kind of pulsing. Okay. It gives, especially because like we only have one guitar player, so I'm responsible for more rhythm than a lot of other keys bands would be, I guess to say.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm in a sense playing keys, but also having to fill the same space as rhythm guitar. You know, kind of accenting certain things. Yeah. So for me, it's definitely having something that is full, like having like a low piano chord, talking about Tremble. Right. Your name is alive. Having like a low thing on the bottom. Right. That maybe has some depth, and then also on the top, just having like a bum, 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 bum. So that's one kind of pad that I would talk about. But then also like when it comes to like a soft pad, for like a vamp or anything like that, a lot of times I use and I know like Jeffrey Cundy. Wait, is Jeffrey Cundy? No. Ian McIntosh, G's Culture. Yeah, I saw this from him. Sorry about that. That's okay. But having that, not having necessarily a warm pad, but having like a really bright pad that has a lot of character to it, and then toning it down, and then bringing it up in certain moments. Also, so you don't have to have like 50 pads in one song. You can just have one pad that is really versatile, can like be good in those low moments, and then bring up the filter, and is really good in those high moments.
And you use the nano control to give yourself some control over that, or do you like to use the mod wheel?
Yeah, for some reason, I don't know why, if it's just like the MIDI we do at church or whatever, but I like never use the mod wheel for some reason. And I mean, that's literally just preference, because the mod wheel is absolutely great. I know like, as you were showing me some stuff that you had done with my sounds, you had put a mod wheel, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. Yeah. But no, I'd love, usually my first fader on the nano control is always just a brightness, an LPF, low pass filter, just like,
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, for those good moments. So.
Okay. So guys, one of the things that brought Ryan and I out to LA is we've been collaborating with Colin, which I think I've shared with everybody here in this group before, on a release of some of his signature presets that he's used on the albums that we've been talking about, and that he's going to be using on some of the new MSC music that's coming out in the future. And I'm super pumped about that. And right now we're working on an Omnisphere 2 release, and then we're going to be working on some Mainstage stuff in the future as well. So how long have you been using Omnisphere? Were you an Omnisphere 1 guy back in the day?
I definitely was, yeah.
Okay.
I first started getting into like synthesizers when I think I was 15. I interned at an R&B studio. And it was so out of my element. Like these people were like, could absolutely destroy me on like a Rhodes, like a Fender Rhodes, like a blues solo. Like they were just absolutely insane. Yeah. And then the producer that I was working under, he was like, hey, you got to check out this program. And anytime I was in the studio, I would just like, mess around with it. And I was like, wow, this thing can do a lot. And I don't even remember what I was using when I was like 14 or 13. I was probably just using GarageBand, honestly. And that's really not bad, because you can do some really cool things on there, especially now. Yeah. But yeah, no, I just like, I started, just using the presets with Omnisphere because it comes with so many just amazing presets, especially
like 10,000 total presets,
and especially like
they just crazy number.
They just released this hardware library, the 2.5 update, and everybody that is watching that has Omnisphere, wow, you guys got to get this thing. It is so dope and
super crazy.
There's even like some new presets on there that have definitely a more analog vibe, which I like.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's becoming a little more. It can act a lot more like an analog synth now, which is cool.
Right. What are some other plugins that you've used? I know you like Keyscape. We talked about Keyscape a lot.
Yeah.
What else? What else do you have in
Keyscape.
your back pocket for production, or even for live performance?
Yeah. So Omnisphere is definitely the main one. Pretty much any pad I'm going to use is coming from Omnisphere.
Yeah.
And then I would say for the more like kind of drivey, gritty synth parts, especially on the song "Back to You," if you listen to the chorus, it has just like these massive, like really in-your-face synths. I use a plugin called Diva by, I think it's called Yuhi.
Yeah, they make like Tal, Uno, and all those like sort of those retro modeled.
Yeah. That's a great plugin, especially like if you want to get into like those more like, analog modeling kind of synths. Right. Has a bunch of different VCO and oscillator and like crazy filter parameters that I love.
Nice.
So,
and then are you using the Keyscape piano, like the C7?
I really like the wing upright.
Okay.
That sounds absolutely insane.
Do you do any tweaks on that in Mainstage? Like, how do you like to dial in your worship piano sound?
So anytime I'm playing live, like on the Outcry tour or any of these dates, I always have a Nord that I'm playing piano out of. I just find, as we were talking about earlier, just in case something goes wrong, because, we've all been there before, all of a sudden you start getting the little glitches and pops. It's like, oh crap, what do I do? It's good to have something at least to fall back on. Also, I just love the way my Nord piano sounds.
Yeah, there's something about it. It feels good.
Keyscape, like in the studio, like all the new pre-production stuff we're working on, I just love like the sound of an upright. It just feels so natural, so warm and organic. Yeah.
So someone here on the feed, Duncan, asked, "How does the Keyscape piano compare to the Giant? Have you used the Giant?"
Oh, I had the Giant. Oh my gosh, I used it back in high school. Yeah, okay. I think it's. I think we actually used the Giant on our Glory and Wonder record on the song "You Are Mine." If you listen, that piano has a different texture to it.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think they took the MIDI out of as I was playing it and just re-looped it back into the Giant.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the Giant is really, especially, Keyscape is a sizable purchase.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Right.
Not everybody has that money. I absolutely love the Giant, and I think I would probably still be using the Giant to this day for certain things if I had not moved laptops and absolutely... For some reason, I lost everything.
Oh, okay.
From it. I don't know how that happened.
Keyscape changed the game for a lot of people. I see a lot of people make that investment. I mean, there's not anything else like it. And I was talking to Eric from Spectrasonics today on Facebook, and I was trying to get over there to just say hello.
Yeah.
And he said, "We can't let you in. There's secret stuff."
No way.
And I had my fingers crossed. I was really hoping we were going to be able to get in there and just poke our heads in the door. But he said, "I don't know what secret stuff means, but I'm assuming if it's Spectrasonics, it's going to be something pretty mind-blowing."
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I love, I love Keyscape. I have not used Keyscape on any current MSC recordings yet, except for we have a song that is only on Spotify that we did for Easter. I'm sorry, it's only on YouTube, and we only did for Easter. It's called Miracle. It's a pretty beautiful and amazing song, so I would say if you have a second, go to Mosaic MSC Miracle, listen to that. That's Keyscape.
Nice.
But on Glory and Wonder, I think all the pianos were Nord and Pianotech, which is another one.
You said you did Pianotech, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And everything from our first record, Live in LA, was Pianotech.
Okay, awesome. Let me scroll through the comments here. We've got people
Anybody
watching.
Got any questions?
Yeah, so a couple people have asked about hardware synths. Have you guys, on any of the MSC albums, done any analog stuff or any modular stuff?
So I know the one thing that was added in post-production on the album Glory and Wonder, pretty much we did 2-3 months of pre-production. It was like a hefty.
Wow.
Yeah, it was not like at all the kind of thing where, you record the album and then later some producer takes it and like goes and does something and then you hear the album and it's like, oh, that sounds nothing like the live thing. It was very much like all the arrangements were like 100% there. But then the only thing was there were some analog synths. I think it was a Prophet. I don't know which Prophet was used on the intro for Across the Universe and the intro for Glory and Wonder.
Okay.
Just those 2 moments.
Like
so
just
yeah,
like pads and that sort of thing. Or?
No, I think it was more like one was like a kind of an arpy, ampy kind of synth, dun, 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 in Across the Universe. That was an analog synth.
Okay.
And yeah, that was by the mastermind of Jonathan Smith, who produced the album for us. He's just a keys genius. So yeah, he has some analog synths. Nice. I would love to one day get an analog synth. I don't have any. Also because being a musician, like you don't have a lot of money doing that. Yeah. Especially when you go spend $500 on Keyscape.
That's cool. Yeah. Let's see. I saw somebody else Brandon wanted to know what it was like working with Elevation on the tour.
Oh my gosh. Elevation, like, first of all, they're so much fun to hang out with. Like, the most down-to-earth, like, just amazing guys and girls. But, like, as musicians, they take their job very seriously.
Okay.
And they have such a high standard for excellence. And it's so cool to see each member just, like, they're always, trying to be better. And no detail is too small to be overlooked for them. It's like...
Yeah.
Anything.
That's awesome.
Yeah, their crew is great. I think we're playing with them again in July. Super excited to connect with them again.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, love those guys.
I've got another question here. Ian, there it went. Ian says, any tips for guitar players trying to start getting better at keys?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Can I chime in really quick?
Please do it, because
So I always say that I'm like a really fake keyboard player. I took piano lessons as a kid, and then as soon as I realized that guitar was cool and piano was lame, this is like young teenage me, I ditched piano for the guitar. This is like back in the like Hillsong United when like everything was all electric guitar and all that stuff. So I just like pretty much stopped playing piano, and then I eventually found my way back around to like the whole synth world and all these keys parts and everything. And it's an interesting thing coming from being a guitarist, because a lot of the principles that sound designers and synth players are using now, like we're using reverb and compression and saturation and delay. That's stuff that guitarists were doing 10 years ago with those giant pedal boards. Mm-hmm. So I find that it gives you an interesting perspective into like how you can fill space and change the atmosphere with just a couple of things. So how do you said you already talked about this a little bit because you fill some of that rhythm guitar space. I do, yeah. So maybe you could talk a little bit more about that. Like what would you say to Ian? Yeah, I have a lot of friends who are in that same boat. Because, I remember that was probably around, 2012 or 2013. I felt like there was a shift when keys started becoming cool for some reason. I don't remember that, because when I was playing, it was not the cool instrument. It was pretty much like you only needed keys to like just to vamp under a speaker, it felt like. And now to see it become like up there with guitar, or if not more in some scenarios, is pretty crazy to me. Yeah. But I would say... and one thing I love about Sunday Keys, like the patches are already like at your disposal. You just have to know the most important thing is what register to play in. Because like, if you have, a rhythm and a lead player, they have to work out who's going to play what, or else it's just going to be a mess. Like I've seen so many two guitarists and they're both trying to play lead, and it's like, yo guys, what are you doing? Or two people playing rhythm, and then it's missing this, higher range. Yeah. That needs to be there. So you have to know like just know where you should be playing on the keyboard scale. And also like, I guess what frequency range, meaning like, does it need to be like a bright part, or does it need to be a more mellow part? Yeah. And you talked about that a little bit too, using like an LPF or a master filter to sort of, not necessarily even shift through the range you're playing, but just what frequencies are accented. And that's something that guitarists definitely do with like, Tube Screamer is going to give you that bite, right? That overdrive that's going to help things cut, and then you mellow it out by turning that drive pedal off. So. Carolina asks, can you do a small summary of Omnisphere? She's thinking of buying it, but she's not sure of all the features it offers. So like, okay, there's a lot of that's a big question.
Yeah.
There's some really great stuff on YouTube, but like, so like, what? First off, it's an investment for sure. I mean, I think it's a worthwhile one.
Oh, absolutely.
But what
100%.
draws you to it versus Contact versus anything else? You said that you're going there for everything. So like, what's the main thing that makes it like a can't miss plugin for you?
I mean, the main thing for me is that it really is kind of an all-in-one package. And I know I do this, but I put my own samples in there, and I know, of course, you can do that with lots of other software, but I have like a lot of things that I sample from my OP1, for instance.
Yeah.
And to put it in there, and it's so cool to put it in there and then play around with like all the crazy set, like the granular synth and harmonia, just put in there. But then it's also, I think the biggest draw, even for new keys players, is that the presets are really solid, super good, and it is very easy to learn like the what do you call it, like the controls or like how modulation works. Because when I started Omnisphere, I didn't really know like what an LFO was, what an envelope was, and the way Omnisphere explains it and visualizes it is just makes a lot of sense to me personally.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Do you want to do? Oh, do you see one? What do you want?
Is Omnisphere more complex than Mainstage? They're very different things because basically I use both of them. I would say Mainstage, like sound designing in Mainstage, sound designing in Omnisphere. I don't know. Actually, I feel like you're more qualified to answer that question.
Oh, thank you. I think Mainstage is a great place to start and sort of just test the waters and see what you can get out of it. I mean, one of the big things that makes Mainstage so great is like the minimal cost investment, right? Like it's super affordable, and there are some great sounds. I do think it's easier to find really inspiring sounds in Omnisphere, like just with the giant preset library that Omnisphere comes with. There are so many sounds that will like just work. Like click the preset and it's gonna sound angelic or euphoric. Like Mainstage, it can be a little bit more time consuming to really crank out really great presets. I mean, that's kind of what Sunday Keys is all about, is like taking like all of these random disconnected sounds and pieces and plugins that Mainstage has and like crafting something that's sort of done for you. So if that's something that you're interested in, like Sunday Keys and Mainstage can be a great way to go, especially if you're not sure that this is the direction that you're going to go in the long term, and if you are just getting started out. But if you can afford it, and if you want to just have tons of inspiration available to you at just a click, like just choosing a preset, I don't think you can beat Omnisphere for, I mean, just the massive amount of value that's packed into that thing. And it's so, I've written entire songs around an Omnisphere preset. Like I've just found something that worked, it clicked, and then like just bunches of ideas flow out of it. So I don't think you can get that as much with Mainstage's presets. I think you have to tweak a lot more.
You definitely have to work a lot harder, and I feel like you have to really know what you're doing, especially with a plugin like EXS24. It's very...
So, okay, let's talk secrets.
Yes.
So, guys, Colin has been working on some stuff today with some of the MSC team.
Yes.
I mean, you guys are deep in pre-production for a new album, right?
Yeah.
And like it's still pretty fresh, right? You're just like still writing songs and still working on ideas.
Yeah.
But Colin has been using some of the sounds that he's been working on for this upcoming Omnisphere release in some of these writing sessions and in some of this pre-production work. So he's actually said that he can share a little demo of some of the stuff.
Just a little bit.
Look at how he's grinning. Like, this is pretty sweet
I'm going to get
stuff.
fired for this. No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, so I guess this is like world exclusive. Like, we're going to get a little glimpse of maybe a new MSC song, or at least like what might end up being an MSC song. And he's going to highlight some of the specific patches that are going to be in
New
this.
Waves.
Yeah, so like the release is going to be called New Wave. No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, so the release is going to be called New Waves, Volume 1 for Omnisphere 2, which was the name was your idea, and we wanted to just capture sort of like the essence of this place, like LA, and sort of what you've done with MSC. And guys, I'm really, really excited. So do you want to give us a little taste?
Yeah, give you a little taste.
If we could get some likes right now, like that would be super cool. And then we're gonna just get a little glimpse into some of these sounds. So all of these presets are going to be in New Waves,
all
right?
Of them, yeah.
So synth bass, leads, pads,
arpeggios.
Arps. There's some really sweet time sync stuff in here. So
Arps is kind of my I just love making Arps like crazy.
Yeah. Okay, so let's check it out. This is something brand new, and you're going to be able to get these sounds yourself, maybe even before they're on the albums that they're going to be on.
Actually, that's entirely true.
With Sunday Sounds. So whenever you're ready, let's just check it out.
Yeah. So I'm going to play a drum loop from Logic. This is the Atlanta kit. This is just, as pre-production. So everything besides the drums is with the sounds I've created. Let's see. And why is it not playing?
I don't know. There we go.
All right, we're going to start over. So I'll just start with a couple of them. This is just like a chorus of a song, and I'll just highlight a few things. That's pretty much it.
Dude, that's so sweet, though.
Yeah, thank you. Just made that today.
That's awesome.
Let's see what's
getting connected
if there's anything else. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
got a few other sounds.
Chevy wants to know how old you are. You look up behind IMDb.
I'm 24. I turned 24. Wait, no, I'm turning 25 in October.
There it is.
That's one of the sounds that'll be in there.
Jay asked if we're gonna release some Mainstage patches. Yes, we're gonna take as many of these sounds as we can and convert them into Mainstage format after this initial release of New Waves, and then I think Colin's gonna do some Mainstage specific stuff, like just using the Mainstage plugins themselves.
Yep.
So I think as soon as we get New Waves out here for Omnisphere, then we'll start to kind of look forward towards like future stuff, and definitely for the non-Omni users, we won't forget about you. And
promise.
Yeah, and New Waves Volume 1 for Omnisphere is also going to be pre-mapped for Sunday Keys, so the Mainstage users who use Sunday Keys are going to be able to just open it right up. And Colin was running some of these patches through Sunday Keys earlier today while we were working on a promo video.
Yeah, I'm actually pulling it up right now.
Using some of the master filter and resonance controls and stuff to kind of tweak those sounds and do some of the stuff you were talking about, like using a really bright pad and then being able to just sculpt it right back down so that it's not filling the space that it doesn't need to anymore without having to pull up something entirely new. So while you're pulling that up, I'm going to ask you another question here that we got come in. Kevin wanted to know, how long does it usually take you to make a sound where you're finally happy with it, start to finish? That's really a tough one.
Dang. I mean, sometimes it takes 20 minutes. 15 minutes. Everything I just played, I think all those sounds took me under 10 minutes to make.
Wow. Dude, you were fast.
Yeah, I guess so. I think it's just knowing which samples you want in the thing, and then knowing knowing Omnisphere, knowing the sample editor. Yeah. But then there's some other, especially on one thing that's really coming to mind, the song King of All on Glory and Wonder. Those sounds took me forever, and just finding the sounds and finding the right part that fit the arrangement, finding a synth that wasn't too bright but still had a cut through, resonance.
Yeah. Do you EQ as you go to try and make fit things into space, or do you try and find something that works 90% before you touch EQ at all?
Yeah, I try not to do a ton of EQ, especially in Mainstage or whatever.
Okay.
I try to find first the part that fits the best.
Yeah.
I love to work around the vocal, either right below it or right above it. A lot of times
that's super super useful.
Yeah.
To consider.
Yeah, and if you want to know if you're trying to create a synth part and you're having trouble with it, just stay out of the vocal range as much as you can. But then a lot of other times, for instance, our song Heartbeat, that main synth lead is pretty much right where Mariah's singing. So yeah, just playing around with the vocal. That's what I like to do.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah, let's see.
Got a couple ready to go? Yeah, there you go.
So this is one of the patches that I made, and it's basically, as I was talking about, like the pads that have like a little bit of, you know, glue, but then are mainly just, you know, pulsing. This is one of them. It doesn't have a name or anything. It's just a patch that I use on almost every song. I think I have a Sunday Keys piano layer in there as well. Let's see.
Yeah, you've got it on in section 2 there. It should be ready to go.
Okay, let's see. So yeah, that's about it for that patch.
So do you use that on Tremble? I feel like I recognized that.
Yeah. So that's like, I think
that's the big. Is that the big bridge? Like
that's the big one. I also had this string patch layered. I don't know if you can hear that. Here, let's see. Let me pull that up. So yeah, like the big part of Tremble is like, oh Lord, those strings are quiet.
Oh, nice. And that's an Omnisphere too, right?
That's
Is that going to be in? Is that? Did you send that over to me? Is that going to be?
Yes.
Okay.
I did.
It's gonna.
So yeah, that's pretty much
awesome.
In that song, that's pretty much the territory that I'm in for the big parts.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's awesome. That's great. Sophie asked, "What advice would you give to someone just starting out with Mainstage?" And you can talk to that, or I can speak to that.
Let's both do it.
Okay. So you go. Yeah.
My advice for somebody just starting Mainstage is buy Sunday Keys. Honestly, like we have so many. No, and here's the thing. That's not me. Pitching something. It is, but it's not. I genuinely believe that this program is like the best for people starting out. It's so easy to understand. Even honestly, this is another sales pitch right here, but not really. This nano thing, what do you call it?
Nano Control 2 skin.
Like it literally, the colors are literally synced to what's on your laptop. So anything right there, it just makes sense. But I mean, outside of that is just don't be scared to take risks. I think with your keys playing. I feel like for the longest time I was always wanting to have a very safe keys tone, and that didn't make for an enjoyable experience for me or an enjoyable worship experience for me because I felt like I was being limited in my creativity. So take risks definitely, and just try out things that are outside the box. You know?
Yeah, that's so cool.
If it works, it works. If it doesn't, oh well.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Kevin wants to know when you're making sounds, do you like to take the samples and edit them, or do you like to start from scratch? You talked about your OP1 a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is super. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what this little thing is. Ryan, could you grab the OP1 off the coffee table? This is the coolest little thing. Ryan, come say hi.
Come say hi, Ryan.
Ryan is here, guys.
Been here this whole time.
He's been here this whole time behind the scenes.
What's up, guys?
This is the first time I've met Ryan, which is like crazy because he's been working with me for a year. He's like the nicest dude. So
thank you, David.
You're awesome. Yeah. But this is the OP1, which it's the tiny little thing. It's got these really fun little sounds in it.
Yeah.
So you actually sample this into Omnisphere, and then mangle up the samples.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's another thing I love about
Can you face it that way for a second so they can just?
Oh yeah. This is an OP1.
This tiny little thing. That is just beautiful.
They use this a lot on Bon Iver's latest record, and on Chance the Rapper's latest record.
Two of the greatest of all time, right there.
Yeah, so it can do some pretty crazy stuff, especially with like vocal sampling. Has a tape machine in it. So yeah, I'll do that. I'll take sounds, put them into the Omnisphere.
Yeah, that's sweet. Have you on the pre-production that you've been working on so far? Have you done anything with this so far? You were telling me you did a lot of the drum stuff. Yeah, a lot of the drum samples on our last EP are actually from here. So it's basically just like putting the thing into like a DI and then
sampling it. They sound very kind of tape-ish.
Okay.
Which is cool. So it's just getting a nice sound for that.
That's super cool. Here's a great question. Jim Turner said, would your ideal setup be sort of like song-specific patches, or would you have your 3 or 4 sounds that you can manipulate on the fly? This is like the question of all questions, I think, for a lot of live keys players.
Oh my gosh, definitely. It was incredible on the Outcry tour getting to work with and meet Luke Hendrickson, who is the main keys player, or I think one of the main keys players for Bethel.
Yeah.
And he's designed their Ableton layout, and his approach is definitely having like, I think 8 sounds that are just, good and are there for that. For me, at the moment, I've found that since I'm not playing like these super, super long sets, it actually makes sense for me to just have the patches right there by name. Mm-hmm. But recently, like during like our Sunday gatherings, I'll definitely have like just all the sounds I need right there, especially because we usually don't play any of our like crazier songs.
Yeah.
On like a Sunday morning.
Right. Do you have like a go-to patch that's sort of like always like the in case of emergency or the in case of like off-script moment? Do you just keep a piano or a pad, or maybe do you use the Nord in those moments?
I love the Nord for that. One thing I love doing, and it works like depending on the venue you're at. If you're like I was at an arena on Sunday playing in Canada, and too much reverb, which is kind of a nightmare in that room. But I love just like in a nice moment, just kind of cranking the reverb, and that's one thing Sunday Keys is so good at too. Just kind of cranking the reverb, let it shine for a bit.
So maybe not even any pad in there, just letting sort of reverbs fill that space.
Yeah, like that, or
that.
Maybe like a nice like tonic pad. I usually, as I'm playing, almost treat like an invitation or like a vamp, almost as if I'm like like film scoring, for instance, like during
totally,
like their
totally.
And I'm sure like most of you guys do that too, but like during the louder moments, bring up, like a string or bring up something that just fits the mood. Not staying one-dimensional the whole time.
Right. Do you have a key that you accidentally always end up playing in for those moments? I always go to A. I don't know why, but I always find myself like if I just sit down at a keyboard, there I am, key of A.
Dang. Okay, I'm close to you, but it's A flat for me.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Chops.
I love the flats. It just sounds a little darker, I guess.
Man, okay, we could talk about Jacob Collier. Do you know who Jacob Collier is?
One of our keys players at our church is obsessed with him. I don't know.
I'm going on a total tangent. This has nothing to do with this. I'm not going to go there. I'm a big Jacob Collier nerd. He always talks about how different keys actually have like different feels.
Yeah.
Because not every key, all the notes aren't the same space away from each other. Like they're actually sense different in equal temperament tuning. So A flat sounds dark and subdued, and A feels like really bright because the 4th and the 5th are different distances away from each other in those two keys. So if you're really nerdy and you want to go look that up, you can like search for like key tunings on YouTube or like microtones. You can go down big long rabbit trails. But we're not going to do that now because that's the extent of my knowledge. I just totally hit. Do you want to share a couple more patches? We've got another project.
I think I do, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to get a few more sounds that are going to be included in new waves for Omnisphere, and that might show up on new MSC music as well. So this is like a pretty cool opportunity to sort of get a behind-the-scenes peek. Joy says Sunday Keys 1.4 is so great. Thanks, Joy. Really appreciate it. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'll show you guys a few things.
Talk about what you're going to show us.
So this is just me having fun with these sounds I've made. No, it's not going to be an MSC song, probably.
Never know.
I'll just go through and highlight some of the sounds and then play it all together.
Okay.
Let's see. I don't even know what sound it is I'm playing, but... And as usual, this thing is not working.
There you go.
There we go. I think it's going to work now.
Super 80s. Love that.
Yeah, I actually think I named this patch the Demogorgon.
That's amazing.
And let me check. Yes, it's called the Demogorgon. So that's me just trying to rip off Stranger Things. Probably. Who knows? So yeah, that was probably as 80s as the library's gonna go.
That's insane though. I love that synth bass, man. That's so cool.
Yeah, I think I had way too many synth bass.
All of those sounds are going to be in New Ways Volume 1 for Omnisphere, so I'm super pumped about that because these sounds are so unique. I mean, it really is like your signature. These are not sounds that I would have programmed, and that's like a really good thing. Like it's just a really great snapshot or thumbprint of your sound, which is why I'm so excited that we're going to be able to work together and partner on this. It's just been so fun. We got a couple really good questions, and then we'll give away this baby. All right, so Carolina wants to know tips to teach volunteers to use all these resources. I think she's talking about Sunday Keys. So I'll say, Carolina, we've got a full video resource page that's included with Sunday Keys for Mainstage that walks you through everything from like connecting your hardware to setting up sounds and then designing sounds and everything. And you're free to share that with your volunteers if you purchase Sunday Keys or if you already own it. Let's see. I saw another great question here. Duncan asked about like taking patches from headphones or at home and then getting to church and having those sounds translate. So when you're designing sounds,
yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, so you want to talk to that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is depending on the room you're in, not every patch is going to translate the way it does in your headphones to like a front of house board. So I think it's definitely having communication with your front of house engineer and being like, hey, let me know if something's not working. Mm-hmm. And like for us, I know I have a guy running front of house that I really trust to be like, hey, if something sounds bad, if it's not, the part that needs to be there, let me know.
That relationship is so important to
very
nurture.
Important. Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
I've seen churches they have like a combative relationship between like front of house and the stage.
Yeah, it's like they're enemies.
Yeah, the stage is trying to like win, and then front of house is like fighting.
Yeah,
so
they have to work together.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. What else?
Sure.
I cut you off, I think.
No, that's pretty much it.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Carlos says his friend Grant goes to MSC and plays drums.
Grant Beaudry. Oh, love that guy.
Okay.
Grant is an amazing drummer.
Nice, that's awesome. Alejandro wants to know when we can take his money.
Still got a bit of work to do.
Really soon. We're still like, I think the fact that Colin's doing pre-production right now is like really great timing for us because he's just coming up with new sounds all of the time. So the library kind of keeps growing, I feel.
It does, yeah.
Let's see. Oh, this is a great question. Ross says, with all the jokes going around about the end of the electric guitar era, do you think there will still be enough sonic space for electric players in the future?
Ooh.
This is tense.
That's very tense.
I posted an electric guitar patch for Keys that's in Sunday Keys 1.4.
Oh yeah?
It's like sort of filling that sonic space, but it's still definitely a synth, but it's like sort of an ambient guitar patch. And some guitar players were like, whoa, this is like my terrain.
Okay.
And I thought that was interesting. So
yeah.
How are you guys approaching that? I know you have one guitarist.
Yeah, so we just have one guitar player who is also playing modular synth. And this guy as well. So we have two OP1s on stage.
Okay.
And yeah, I think the way it's so different. Honestly, I'm not really a guitar player. I tried to be one for a minute. Like I bought a Mobius and bought an AC-15, but I was like, I'm not good at this. I'm just gonna play keys. Yeah, I mean, in the case for us, like our guitar parts are just very different from something you would hear from a band like Elevation or a band like Bethel.
In what way?
Well, since we only have a lead player, he has to fill a different space. And like I was telling you, I'm filling kind of the rhythm guitar and the keys at the same time, just with the way I design my patches. So it almost lets him do more lead stuff. And he does a lot of weird kind of modulation stuff with his guitar. So if he's like doing a moment or a down chorus, he'll like do like some weird sweep on his board. So
he's almost doing like sound design, like taking that approach to the guitar.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's I think like if you listen to our song "You Are Mine," for instance, there's a very prominent guitar part in the turnaround of that that goes very kind of syncs with the keys in an interesting way. So we definitely do have some prominent guitar parts, but yeah, I think guitar and keys, like their relationship is just changing.
Yeah. I think we've seen guitarists sort of, play off of what keys players are doing now, like with the resurgence of chorus on guitars and like much more modulation. And you know, like 10 years ago, adding delay to your guitar was the thing to do to make it sound different or more than just like a rock guitar tone. And now I see we're moving into like, well, maybe modulating pitch or maybe modulating time itself a little bit is what makes it fill that space. And I think it's sort of a response to what a lot of keys players are doing, because it's sitting right alongside it sonically instead of like, here's your rock guitar tone and then all of these modulated synths. You just kind of move those things a little closer together. Yeah. Frequency-wise and stylistically, I've noticed that on some MSC stuff that you're really, the tones match. They don't clash, but they're also not always like totally distinct. They sort of blend together really well.
They are, yeah. And it's funny because we have people tell us all the time, "Oh, you don't have any guitar parts in your music," and I'm like, yeah, we don't have any like prominent guitar parts compared to like, you know, other bands. Sure. But it's just it's different because if you listen to like our multi-tracks, there's definitely, we had Glory and Wonder was recorded with 2 guitars. And they're both very much in the mix. It's just just the way they're EQ'd and the way that they sit in the mix is just, it's different.
That's awesome. Before we wrap up, I would love it if you commented with something that jumped out to you that you learned during this live stream, something that Colin said or an insight that was shared that really stood out to you. And that'll help the people who watch the replay sort of be able to focus on those points that were really impactful or maybe a light bulb moment for you. Colin, I just want to thank you so much for letting us into your home, for letting us hear some of this exciting new stuff that you're doing with MSC, for being willing to share your time here with the group. So everybody just give it up for Colin. I'm so excited about New Waves Volume 1 for Omnisphere, some of the presets that we got to see today, and tons more that we didn't get to hear today. We're working on this, and we're hoping to get it out really soon. We're wrapping up some of the details and kind of putting everything together so that it's a really, really cohesive release, and you're going to be able to just dial these presets in super fast. So stay tuned for that. If you want to know when that is released, the best way is to sign up for our email newsletter. So we're going to leave the link to sign up for our newsletter in the comments. So you can just click that link, give us your email address. We send out a weekly newsletter on Wednesdays that's full of Mainstage tutorials and tips and tricks and free patches. And then we'll also let you know when New Waves is released. Colin, any parting words before you leave? You want to yodel a little more or anything? No yodeling.
No, I'm good.
All right.
Thanks for watching, y'all.
Yeah, man, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you, everybody. I hope that you have a great rest of your week. And thank you so much. And again, man, Colin, it's been so awesome having you here, dude. Yeah. Thank you. Really, really, really appreciate it. All right, everybody. We'll see you later.